He played like his life depended on it. Sharp turns, explosive sprints, goals from angles that didn't make sense. He was electric, unstoppable. Arsenal's dynamite, Chile's warrior, Barcelona's engine. Then one day, he just vanished, not literally, but on the pitch. It was like the magic was gone. So what happened? How did one of football's most dangerous forwards become a ghost? This is not just the story of a talented footballer. It's a story about pressure, sacrifice, glory, and what happens after the lights fade. Alexis Sanches had everything: the talent, the hunger, the headlines. He played for Barcelona. He dominated at Arsenal. He carried a country to Copa America glory twice. But by the end, he was collecting paychecks at clubs where even the fans forgot he existed. From one of the most feared attackers in Europe to a bench warmer no one mentions anymore. This is the story of Alexis Sanches, from world class to forgotten. Tocopilla isn't a place you find by accident. It's a small, dusty port town in northern Chile. Cracked streets, long stretches of desert, salt in the air, smoke from the mines. If you grow up here, you don't dream big. You survive. Alexis didn't have a bed. He slept on the floor. He didn't have boots. He borrowed them. Sometimes he played barefoot. His nickname was El Niño Maravilla, the Wonder Kid. But there was no magic in his childhood, just fight. His mother, Martina, washed cars to put food on the table. His father, he left when Alexis was 6. Every day, Alexis would juggle a ball down the street doing tricks for coins. If he made enough, he could buy bread, or maybe help pay for electricity. He wasn't playing to be famous. He was playing to eat. That desperation, it became his fuel. By 16, he'd earned a trial at Cobreloa, one of Chile's top clubs. They didn't know what hit them. The boy was a blur, dribbling past grown men like they weren't even there, scoring goals with both feet, smiling like it was all a game. At 17, he got called up to Chile's U20 national team. At 18, Udinese came knocking, and a move to Europe. But Alexis didn't fly straight to Italy. Udinese knew he was still raw, so they loaned him to Colo-Colo, Chile's biggest club, and then to River Plate in Argentina. That's where the world noticed. In Buenos Aires, Alexis wasn't just a speedster, he was a menace. Dribbling, chasing, scoring, tracking back, fighting. He wasn't a luxury winger, he was a pit bull with tricks. And when he finally arrived in Italy in 2008, Udinese had no idea how much he'd grown. At Udinese, he became a weapon, a raw, wild, beautiful chaos. Playing alongside Antonio Di Natale, he ripped Serie A apart. In the 2010-11 season, he scored 12 goals and assisted 10 more. But the numbers didn't tell the story. The step-overs, the sprints, the shrugging off defenders twice his size, the grin after every goal. The kid from Tocopilla was now one of the most exciting players in Europe, and the big clubs were watching. In 2011, Pep Guardiola called. Barcelona wanted him. The boy who once begged for coins was now going to play with Messi. But Barcelona would change everything, not just his game, his identity, his path, and maybe his fate. You'd think playing for Barcelona is the dream. For most players, it is. But for Alexis Sanches, it was a dream that came with a cage. In 2011, he joined a team that didn't just dominate football. They rewrote its laws. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Messi. A symphony of passing, control, and movement. Total football with surgical precision. But Alexis was chaos. He didn't glide. He exploded. He didn't pass sideways. He darted forward. He didn't wait for the play. He made it happen. And at Barcelona, that was both his gift and his curse. Pep Guardiola wanted him, but the system didn't need him. In training, Alexis impressed. His work rate is brutal. His energy is infectious. But in matches, he looked out of sync. He'd press high when the others dropped deep. He'd dribble when they wanted triangles. He was fireworks in a room full of candlelight. Still, he made it work. His debut season? 15 goals, several assists, moments of magic, moments of madness. He scored in El Clasico. He celebrated with Messi. He lifted trophies. But deep down, he knew he wasn't the star. In Pep's machine, Messi was the engine. Everyone else was just gears. And Alexis, he was a spare part. Then Guardiola left. Under Tito Villanova and then Tata Martino, Alexis got more chances, more freedom, more responsibility, but also more confusion. Should he stay wide? Should he cut inside? Was he a winger? A second striker? A decoy? At times, it felt like he was being asked to play against his nature. He'd make a run. No one passed. He'd shoot when they expected one more pass. And the Spanish press? Relentless. They said he wasn't smart enough, not technical enough, that he didn't get Barcelona. Even when he scored, he didn't celebrate like them. He'd pump his fists, scream to the heavens, show passion, grit, hunger. That wasn't the Barca way, but he had his moments. Remember that goal versus Real Madrid in 2013? Outside the box, curling shot over Diego Lopez. Pure perfection. Even the Camp Nou gasped. Even Messi smiled. But those moments were rare. By 2014, it was clear he didn't belong. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was too different. He wasn't a violin in the orchestra. He was a drum solo in the middle of a piano recital. And so, when Barcelona signed Neymar, the writing was on the wall. They needed room. And Alexis, he needed freedom. That's when Arsenal called. And everything changed. Because Arsenal didn't just want him, they needed him. And for the first time, he'd be the main character. London was grey, cold, and rainy. But Alexis brought fire. He arrived at Arsenal in July 2014 for £35 million. Arsène Wenger smiled like he'd just pulled off a heist. Because this was no ordinary transfer. Barcelona let go of a star. And Arsenal, the nearly men of England, landed a player ready to explode. From the moment he stepped on the pitch, you could feel it. He wasn't just playing football, he was at war. Every sprint, every shot, every tackle. Alexis didn't jog. He hunted. He didn't dribble for flair. He drove forward like he had a point to prove. And maybe he did. To Barcelona. To Pep. To everyone who said he didn't fit the mold. Arsenal gave him something Barcelona never did. Freedom. Freedom to roam. Freedom to shoot. Freedom to lead. And he delivered. In his debut season, he scored 25 goals in all competitions. He lit up the Premier League like a live wire dropped in water. Long-range screamers. Solo runs. Last-minute winners. One goal against Liverpool. Chest control, turn, thunderbolt. That wasn't a strike. It was a warning. The Premier League had a new monster. And the fans? They fell in love instantly. He wasn't flashy like Ozil. He wasn't as graceful as Thierry Henry. He was relentless. No one chased lost balls like Alexis. He'd lose possession, sprint 40 yards back, win the ball again, and start another attack. He bled red. Wenger knew he had a rare one. A gladiator in a ballerina's league. In 2015, he won Arsenal's Player of the Season. In 2016, he did it again. But it was the 2016-17 season that turned him from fan favourite to legend. Alexis played 51 games, scored 30 goals, and assisted 19 more. Numbers that screamed world class, but it wasn't just stats. It was the way he carried the team. Arsenal were breaking, injuries, inconsistencies, and cracks everywhere. But Alexis was a one-man army. Remember the hat-trick at West Ham? The last-minute winner against Burnley? The FA Cup final goal versus Chelsea? That goal at Wembley. A scrappy deflection, a scramble, a finish. It wasn't pretty, but it was pure Alexis. Determined, ruthless, inevitable. Arsenal won that final 2-1. Wenger lifted the trophy. But Alexis, he lifted something heavier. The entire club. In a squad full of fragility, he was iron. But even iron wears down. Because behind the goals, behind the roar, Alexis was breaking too. He was frustrated. At missed chances. At teammates not running. At a club that promised ambition, but always fell short. Cameras caught it. The shouting. The arms flailing. The eyes that said, I can't do this alone. By the end of 2017, the cracks showed. Alexis had 1 year left on his contract. He wanted more than goals. He wanted trophies. Wenger begged him to stay. But Alexis, he wanted out. And that's when Manchester City called. Champions in waiting. Pep Guardiola. A reunion. A title. It made sense. But then, at the last minute, Manchester United hijacked the deal. Offered more money. A bigger contract. Promised him the number. 7 shirt. The legacy of Best, Cantona, Beckham, Ronaldo. It was irresistible. And just like that, he swapped red for red, North London for Manchester. Freedom for fame. He walked in as United's saviour. He walked out as something else entirely. January 2018, the piano played. The lights dimmed. The camera panned to a figure in a United tracksuit, hands gliding over the keys. Alexis Sanches, Manchester United's new number 7, a theatrical signing, a statement of intent. It was supposed to be the start of something historic. Instead, it was the beginning of a disappearance. Let's be clear, Alexis didn't join a broken club. He joined a wounded one. Under Jose Mourinho, United were second in the league. They had Pogba, Lukaku and De Gea at his peak. They had a foundation. But when Alexis arrived, something felt off. The fire, it didn't transfer. The explosiveness, gone. The joy was missing. On the pitch, he looked lost, slower, hesitant, like he was thinking through every move instead of feeling it. His debut was solid. Some good touches. High energy. The fans sang his name, but the goals never came. He scored just 3 times in 18 appearances that season. 3. For context, he had scored 30 goals the season before at Arsenal. And it wasn't just the numbers, it was the weight of expectations, of that number 7 shirt, of a massive salary that reportedly made him the highest paid player in Premier League history. And the pressure, it changed him. He wasn't the smiling, tenacious warrior from North London. He looked burdened. His dribbles were heavy. His passes are predictable. His confidence visibly crumbling. And in the dressing room, it got worse. Reports of isolation, frustration, and even regret. In fact, years later, Alexis himself admitted, "The first day I arrived at Manchester United, I wanted to rip up my contract and go back to Arsenal." Let that sink in. The moment he arrived, he knew this wasn't right. And Mourinho? He didn't help. Tactical rigidity, defensive structures, limited attacking expression. Alexis wasn't built to follow patterns. He thrived in chaos, in instinct. At United, he was told where to stand, when to move, and how to pass. It strangled his game, and slowly, minute by minute, game by game, the magic evaporated. He'd get the ball. The crowd would expect something, but nothing came. A miscontrol, a misplaced pass, and a frustrated shake of the head. He went from saviour to scapegoat. By the 2018-19 season, it was over. He managed just 2 goals that entire campaign. 2. Injuries piled up. Hamstring? Knee. More bench time. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who replaced Mourinho, couldn't fix him. The confidence was gone, the legs weren't the same, and the aura faded. And United, they wanted out. In August 2019, Alexis was sent on loan to Inter Milan. No tribute video, no emotional goodbye, just a press release and silence. The man who had once lit up the Premier League exited with barely a whisper. It was one of the most dramatic declines in modern football. But it wasn't over yet, because Inter was supposed to be the rebirth. Instead, it became the afterthought. When Alexis Sanches landed in Milan, the hope was simple: rebuild. Not to be the star again, not to carry a team, just to feel alive on the pitch. Inter offered that chance. A team on the rise, hungry, aggressive, led by Antonio Conte, a coach who thrived on passion and effort. And at first, it looked like the perfect match. The Serie A suited Alexis. Slower tempo, more space, and less chaos. He reunited with Romelu Lukaku. He had Lautaro Martinez beside him. He wasn't the guy anymore, and that was fine. But fate had other plans. Just weeks into his Inter loan, Alexis suffered a brutal ankle injury on international duty. Ligament damage. He had surgery and was months out. Another wall, another cruel twist. He returned late in the season, played a few cameos, looked decent, even showed glimpses of the old fire. But something was different. He wasn't the same player who tormented the Serie A with Udinese. He was older, slower, and less daring. His touch was heavier. His sprint was fewer. The magic was flickering. Still, Conte believed in him. Inter signed him permanently in 2020, for free. And Alexis? He gave what he could. That season, he played a supporting role as Inter stormed to their first Scudetto in over a decade, champions. Alexis had his trophy, but here's the painful truth. He wasn't the reason. He was a passenger. In a squad filled with warriors, Lukaku, Barella, Brozovic, Alexis was just there. No more headline goals, no more solo runs, no more wonder kid aura. He started games, he sat on the bench, and sometimes he didn't play at all. He'd become rotation. And for a player who once breathed fire on every blade of grass, that must have stung. In press conferences, he hinted at frustration. If you don't let a lion play, how can you know what he's capable of? The lion still roared, but fewer people listened. By 2022, Inter let him go. He drifted to Marseille for a season, played decently, scored some goals, gave everything. But League One was not the stage for a fallen giant to rise again. Then, almost poetically, he returned to Inter in 2023. Not to dominate, just to be part of something familiar. But the magic was long gone. The world had moved on, new stars, new headlines, new stories, and Alexis Sanches. He became a memory. Legends are supposed to fade slowly, with farewell tours, with packed stadiums, with ovations that stretch for minutes. But Alexis Sanches didn't get that. No grand exit, no final bow, no statue, no goodbye, just silence. A flicker, then gone, and that might be the cruelest part, because Alexis Sanches was never meant to be ordinary. This was the kid who juggled rocks on the streets of Tocopilla, who played barefoot for coins, who ran harder than anyone, because he had no other choice. He didn't just dream of greatness, he clawed his way into it. At Udinese, he became the league's most electric winger. At Barcelona, he stood beside Messi and never blinked. At Arsenal, he became a god, a symbol, a gladiator in red. And for Chile, he became a hero. Alexis Sanches is the most capped Chilean in history, their all-time top scorer. He led his country to back-to-back Copa America titles in 2015 and 2016, beating Argentina, beating Messi twice. He didn't just win those tournaments, he defined them. That penalty in the 2015 final, he chipped it. A Panenka against Sergio Romero in a final. With the weight of a nation, that moment alone should have immortalized him. But football doesn't care about yesterday. It moves on, fast and brutally. One day, you're the name on every jersey. The next, you're a trivia question. So what is Alexis Sanchez's legacy? A misunderstood genius? A fallen warrior? A player who burned too bright, too fast? Or maybe he was exactly what football needed, but never fully appreciated. Too raw for Barcelona, too passionate for United, too intense for modern football's cold tactics and metrics. He was instinct, chaos, heart. You could never coach what he had. And that's why, even after everything, the silence, the decline, the jokes online, when you watch his highlights, you still feel it. The power, the urgency, the purpose. Because Alexis didn't just play football, he fought it. And sometimes, the fire burns so hot, it can't last forever. But oh, when it did, you remembered why you loved the game. He never gave a perfect interview, never played the PR game, never smiled for the cameras unless he had just scored. But on the pitch, he screamed for every kid who came from nothing. Every player who wasn't supposed to make it. He came, he conquered, and somewhere along the way, he was forgotten. But legends, they don't need to be remembered by everyone, just by the ones who truly watched. El Niño Maravilla, Alexis Sanches.